Volodymyr Zelensky and Emmanuel Macron discussed support for the Ukrainian army and defense cooperation. Zelensky's office outlines two next steps to resolve Russia's war against Ukraine and how he is set to slam Putin with Russian sanctions in just days. The latest news next. President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky held a phone conversation with President of France Emmanuel Macron. The leaders continued preparing decisions within the framework of the coalition of the willing. According to the President of Ukraine, everything is becoming more practical. Volodymyr Zelensky and Emmanuel Macron discussed support for the Ukrainian army, defense, cooperation, and domestic arms production in Ukraine. Special and detailed attention was given to relations and coordination with the United States of America. The President of Ukraine emphasized the need to maintain a shared vision and readiness to act together. He also expressed gratitude to France for its support. Ukraine has outlined the next steps for resolving the war with Russia. This involves a large prisoner exchange and defining the location for the next meeting with the Russians, head of Ukrainian's presidential office Andriy Yermak reports. Yermak held an online conversation with diplomatic representatives of the leaders of the Northern European and Baltic countries. The head of the office informed his colleagues about recent events, the talks in Istanbul, President Volodymyr Zelensky's meetings in Italy and the Vatican, as well as an important conversation between Zelensky and US President Donald Trump and leaders of the European countries.
Our position is clear. The first step must be an agreement on a prisoner exchange in the 1,000 for 1,000 format. The second, determining the place for the next meeting with representatives of the Russian Federation.
According to the head of Ukrainian's presidential office, special attention was paid to the necessity of strengthening sanctions pressure on Russia. The bill on sanctions against Russia for its barbaric invasion of Ukraine has received 81 co-sponsors in the US Senate. These sanctions would be imposed if Russia refuses to negotiate in good faith a lasting peace with Ukraine or engages in other efforts, including military intervention that undermine Ukrainians' sovereignty after peace is concluded. The law also establishes a 500% tariff on imported goods from countries that buy Russian oil, gas, uranium, and other products. Conditions for approving the bill. According to the bill's authors, Secretary of State Marco Rubio and the Senate Appropriations Subcommittee on State and Foreign Operations, Russia has agreed to provide its terms of the ceasefire in the next few days.
Its contents will speak volumes as to whether or not Russia is serious about peace. We suspect it will be more of the same. If it is more of the same, Russia can expect decisive action from the United States Senate.
The senators note that the bill isolates Russia by placing it on a trade island and imposing stiff tariffs on other countries that support these atrocities. One of the main priorities is to hold China accountable for supporting Putin's war machine by buying cheap Russian oil from the shadow fleet. Without China's economic support, Putin's war machine would come to a standstill, the statement said.
While we yearn for peace, it is increasingly clear to us and a supermajority of the Senate that Putin is playing games. The United States Senate stands ready to act if these games continue.
Senators Graham and Blumenthal introduced the sanctions bill in late April. Graham said that he had enough support in the House of Representatives to introduce the sanctions bill there as well. The bill is also not likely to be vetoed by Donald Trump, as 67 votes in the Senate are needed to override a veto, and the bill is supported by 81. Russian dictator Vladimir Putin may be planning to capture the city of Sumy and parts of the Sumy region, but implementing such plans will not be easy, reports the Institute for the Study of War. On May 20th, Vladimir Putin visited Russia's Kursk region, where he held a meeting with local officials. According to analysts, this move was likely aimed at laying the groundwork for renewed plans to capture the city of Sumy and legally annex parts of the Sumy region. The report recalls that during the meeting, The head of the Hlushkovsky district, Pavel Zolotaryov, addressed the Kremlin dictator with a request to create a buffer zone on the territory of Ukrainian Sumy region. Putin then asked how deep this buffer zone should be, to which Zolotaryov responded that Russia should seize at least Sumy and that Russia must become bigger. The city of Sumy is located approximately 25 kilometers from the international border. Establishing a buffer zone that includes the city would effectively prevent Ukrainian defense forces from using tube artillery and tactical drones to strike Russian territory. According to Western and Ukrainian sources, during the Ukrainian-Russian negotiations held on May 16th in Istanbul, the Russian delegation threatened to seize the Sumy region in order to create a so-called security zone. About Putin's hidden ambitions, experts at the Institute for the Study of War are convinced that Vladimir Putin harbors territorial ambitions that extend beyond the regions already illegally occupied or annexed by Russia. The Kremlin dictator is likely planning to use potential gains in the Sumy region as leverage in future peace negotiations to pressure Ukraine into ceding part of the territory.
The Kremlin likely arranged the interaction at the May 20th meeting in order to frame Putin as an effective and engaged wartime leader by responding to Russian requests to further advance in the Sumy region and suggesting that Russia lay claim to more territory within Ukraine.
They also noted that Putin's visit to the Kursk region was his first since Russia declared a military victory in the area on April 26. Despite official Kremlin claims of having fully expelled Ukrainian forces from the region, Ukrainian defense forces continue to hold limited positions in the Kursk region. On May 21st, Ukrainian General Staff reported that active combat operations were still ongoing there. Capturing Sumy an unattainable goal. Moreover, the Institute for the Study of War believes that Russian forces are unlikely to capture the city of Sumy in the short or medium term. Analysts cite the Russian armies demonstrated inability over the past 3 years to quickly seize control of even significantly smaller Ukrainian settlements as the main reason. Military analyst Konstantin Mashevets noted that the main assaults in the Sumy direction are being carried out by units of the 18th Motorized Rifle Division, 11th Army Corps, Leningrad Military District, and the 72nd Motorized Rifle Division, 44th ACLMD. Elements of the 83rd Separate Airborne Brigade are also likely involved, along with 4 to 5 regiments of motorized rifle and infantry troops from Russia's mobilization reserve. The Institute for the Study of War believes that these forces are insufficient to capture a large city like Sumy, which had a pre-war population of 256,000. Russian troops have not demonstrated the capability to occupy major cities since the early month of the full-scale invasion. Analysts also reminded that since July 2022, following the capture of Lysychansk in the Luhansk region, Russian forces have not managed to take control of a single Ukrainian city with a pre-war population of over 100,000. The ISW also noted that Lysychansk was captured through a slow and exhausting offensive, which depleted Russia's offensive potential in eastern Ukraine by the summer of 2022, not as a result of an effective maneuver operation.
Russian forces have since struggled to seize much smaller settlements in subsequent campaigns, despite using larger numbers of forces, especially in eastern and northern Ukraine. Ukrainian officials have also previously expressed doubt that Russian forces would be able to conduct an effective offensive operation to seize Sumy.
That's all for today. Thanks for watching this video. Like and subscribe.